house is shining bright. Got Bobo and Cramer, and they're bringing the heat tonight. Talking New York sports, you know what I mean. Big boys and the kings of the sea. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, and the pimps are loud, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with the New York grit. They're rising to the top, from the Mets to the Knicks. They got all the scoop, pouring out the passion, yeah, they're leading the truth. Every episode party, grab your friends and cheer. In this podcast palace, we've got the atmosphere. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the stand of the lost, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York grit, rising to the top, get loud. Tune in, turn it up, feel electric sound. With every single word, you're never gonna frown. From the Midline Giants to the Madison Square, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, this man can get it out. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the stand the loud, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York grit. They're rising to the top, get loud. Yeah, the best in the house is where the legends play. Bobo and Cramer, leading the way. Breaking plastics loud, shout it out loud. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town.
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, it's so hot. Milk was a bad choice.
Well, you know who else I'm sure doesn't like the heat, Dan? Your mom.
Yeah.
You know who I feel sorry for? My mom! Oh!
And with that, we're off and running, man. We got a big show on hand for you tonight on this special Friday night edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. Want to thank everybody hanging out with us here on YouTube and X, as always. And yeah, let's just get started, Dan. I mean, there's a number of ways we could kick this thing off. Obviously, me and you were just discussing the Mets' big series against the Dodgers this weekend, where they came up just a little bit short of winning it. However, with the split, they still won the season series, so still good things happening for the Mets. The Yankees had their championship series matchup or rematch from last year this week as well, as they went to Cleveland. They welcomed the Cleveland Guardians into Yankee Stadium and took 2 out of 3 there as well. We got some football notes to get into a little bit. But, Dan, I think the proper place to start this week, aside from all the stuff going on with baseball and everything else, is our New York Knicks. And let's kick things off there, because about a week ago, we watched our team come up just a little bit short against the Indiana Pacers, as the Knicks would fall in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, lose the series 4-2 to, as much as they annoy us, a very deep, very talented Indiana Pacers team. We saw this come to fruition last night, too. If you're still watching the NBA playoffs by any chance, the Indiana Pacers looked like they were getting their teeth kicked in last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And just as they did in Game 1 against the Knicks of the Eastern Conference Finals, they came back and Halliburton hit a last-second shot to give them the Game 1 win. So a shocking win for the Pacers in Game 1 there. A very tough loss for the Knicks in Game 6 last week. But then even tougher, Dan, we found out shortly after the series concluded that the New York Knicks have fired their head coach, Tom Thibodeau. And if you're a Knicks fan, That's a disturbing thought because we've had a lot of crap coaches here since Jeff Van Gundy left. Pretty much every single one of them sucked except for Mike Woodson 10 years ago. So it's been a long time since we had a good coach in here. And Thibodeau was able to come in and establish a winning culture immediately, getting us to the playoffs for these last 4 years, winning playoff rounds during that time. It's very distressing to see the Knicks fire their head coach. And Dan, what was your reaction when you found out earlier this week?
Well, I think that was complete utter stupidity, firing Tom Thibodeau. The Knicks just had their best season they had in a while. They looked like this team was progressing nice. I feel like this is a step backwards.
Yeah,
doing this, and who the fuck are they going to replace him with? That's the question I gotta ask, because I feel like this team was coming together. I feel like they could have. This was a team that easily could have won. I mean, there was no reason to fire the coach. He did not lose the team. They probably would have. I feel like would have won this whole thing had they beat Indiana, and they looked like they were on pace to be even better next year, and they do this. I was scratching my head, and you know who else was shocked and disturbed by this news? My mom.
You know who I feel sorry for? My mom! Oh!
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm totally with you. I was shocked when I heard, I heard people talking about it earlier, earlier in the week and late last week after the series ended. So I can't sit here and say that it was a complete and total surprise, but I was shocked they actually pulled the trigger. Of course, it's something that you're going to consider. And you know what? As much as I do love Tibbs, and I think he deserved better than what the Knicks gave him this year, if they kept him around and then and then next year the Knicks turned around and lost in the second round or lost in the Eastern Conference Finals again and didn't progress off this season, I could sit here and say, you know what? As much as I don't like it, I get it. This one feels a year too early to me, and who knows? It's either going to be the right call or it's going to be a call that's going to set the Knicks back years in their development. We even saw the Knicks' best player, Jalen Brunson, gave a unequivocal, just over the top endorsement of Tibbs. So he's going to be upset about it. A lot of guys on the team are not going to be happy about it for obvious reasons. They went to bat for this guy. I saw Josh Hart wasn't too thrilled about it. But now, Dan, we have to ask the question of whose decision was it? When you listen to some of the old relics of New York sports talk, and I'm referring to Mike and the Mad Dog, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. It was very interesting to hear Mad Dog had a very similar reaction to me, where I am in the camp that I don't think Leon Rose had anything to do with this decision. I think this is a 100% James Dolan move. It's got James Dolan written all over it. If you've ever watched a team that he's been in control of, he always has these over-the-top reactions to a tough playoff loss. Especially if you're a Rangers fan, you've seen this for years and years. After the Rangers with a barely competitive team didn't make the playoffs, he cleaned house and got rid of JD and all the guys that had built Jeff Gordon, that the young talent that the Rangers had accumulated over the years. And then we see the firing of Gerard Gallant, the firing of David Quinn, the firing of now Peter Laviolette. So we know that they have an itchy trigger finger over there at Madison Square Garden. But, when you listen to a guy like Mike Francesa, he was on the other end of the spectrum, and he was saying, hey, Leon Rose is an independently wealthy man that is his own man. And if James Dolan was trying to force this issue on him, that Leon Rose would just walk away from it. Now, I know it's easy to say. I disagree with it. Dan, what side of the aisle are you on here?
I think it was maybe a bit of both because I feel like he wanted, but he was kind of leaving it on him. Maybe kind of asked him if he wanted to do that. I don't know. Maybe there may have been both guilty on this one because I feel like that's what happened here.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And we got I want to thank everybody who's in the chat hanging out with us on X and on YouTube. We got our buddy Alan Gonzalez in there, and he says that James Dolan has been a bad owner. And overall, you're right. I mean, it has only been over the last couple of years where Dolan has taken a step back and allowed the basketball people to do their freaking jobs and let Leon Rose just take full control of this organization. So you're right. You can't really argue that James Dolan has been a bad owner. He's been a better owner the last couple of years, if you want to give him that credit. Although for some reason they can't still figure out all this crap with Charles Oakley, one of the greatest Knicks of all time, not being allowed in the building. How about you figure that out, Dolan? How about you figure out a whole bunch of the garbage that's been going on, and the knee-jerk reaction to replacing guys could be just that too, but it's all gonna depend on what the Knicks do from this point forward now. And that's the big question we have to ask ourselves. What is the plan? Now, I found something very interesting, Dan. Over the last couple of years, the Knicks have been an absolute vault when it comes to leaks. And you got to give Leon Rose credit for that. There has been no leaks coming out of this organization for the last 4 or 5 years, when before that it was Leak Central, and everybody knew anything that was going on behind the doors of MSG. I only bring that up because over the last couple of days, we've found out some things that we didn't know. We found out just the other day from Shams, the NBA reporter, going out there reporting that the Knicks made an offer for Kevin Durant at this year's trade deadline. So that's an interesting fact that we didn't know coming out of this. Another interesting fact that we found out is that Jason Kidd is a coach the Knicks are perhaps interested in. Let's not forget, Kidd has coached the Milwaukee Bucks, he coached the Nets, and he even coached the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals 2 years ago. So it's interesting that the Knicks are interested in him as a coach, but also pairing that with what the Knicks are targeting as Giannis Antetokounmpo as a big, splash trade target the Knicks could have this offseason, and potentially making a, quote, tsunami offer for him in that trade. I don't know how good that would be for the organization if you're going to basically trade your whole roster for him, but under the right circumstances, I wouldn't mind it. However, Dan, the only reason I bring this up is because it almost seems too coincidental. The Knicks have been a fortress for 4 years under this guy with nothing getting out. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to want some parts moving. He's going to want to be able to make some moves. And now we're starting to hear some leaks, because let's not forget the OG trade when they traded, away RJ Barrett in that deal. Nobody knew that was coming before it happened. The Karl Anthony Towns trade, nobody had any idea that was on the table. And even the big trade with the Nets when they got Bridges and gave up 4 first-round picks, that came out of nowhere too. So it almost makes me think the Knicks want people to think that they're going to go one way and maybe they're going to go another. What's your thought process when it comes to this, Dan?
Yeah, I'm starting to question this, if that's going to be even that or not. I just know I'm seeing some of these moves. Some of these could work in our favor depending what we give up. Because I feel like they need to build. Yeah, because they need to build on what. I feel like the Knicks are on the cusp of winning a championship if they bring in the right coach and make the right moves that need to be made. Those moves need to be the bench, I feel like.
Yeah, they definitely have to improve the bench, no doubt about it. But then again, you see reactions from fans and everything just like this. Our buddy Alan Gonzalez, the Greek freak, holy moly, he's right, because that's exactly what's going to get people pumped up. The question is, you have to balance out the excitement of adding a player like that to giving up the assets, like you said, Dan. We all remember back to the Carmelo Anthony trade, where the Knicks basically stripped their roster down just to get Carmelo in here before the trade deadline in 2011. That was not the right move. We all know in retrospect that the Knicks probably should have waited for free agency to sign Carmelo. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if the Knicks go out there and make a big deal for Giannis, am I going to be upset about it? Off the bat, probably not. But you're right. They're going to have to go out and they're going to have a plan going forward. And even if you're going to make these splashy moves, you cannot ignore the bench. They have to find a way to improve the bench. And there's a multitude of ways they could go about doing that. But they're really going to have to, dot their I's and cross their T's, and they're going to have to figure out the best way to go about that, because you don't want to be – you have Karl Anthony Towns here paired with Jalen Brunson. You want to add to that. You don't want to take away. I heard people saying, oh, okay, well, the Knicks are going to go trade for Kevin Durant now in the offseason, and one of the guys they're going to give up for it is Karl Anthony Towns. To me, that makes no sense. Why are you going to trade for whatever 36, 37-year-old Kevin Durant? You're going to give up Karl Anthony Towns in his prime. And not that, okay, maybe, in the short term, that couldn't be a good thing. Obviously, in the long term, it won't. But my point is, you want to be adding to this roster, not subtracting from it. So if you're going to want to add a guy like Durant or add a guy like, Giannis, find a way to do it without hurting your roster. Okay, maybe if you want to give up one of these guys, but you can't be giving up like Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, OG. You can't be giving up the whole roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You can't really gut a roster like this. It's cost the Knicks so many times in the past doing these trades where they've gutted rosters. You really can't do this. It's just setting up for disaster. If you're going to make moves like these, all the teams that have made moves with these big stars, multiple big stars, have made moves that complemented those players. Have had the benches that to make these moves work. You gotta make the complementary moves are going to be a key factor. It's what's going to make these moves work. It's not these moves are going to work alone.
Yeah, and we see what happens. There's evidence just in the last 3 to 4 years in the NBA that these super teams, when you take away from your bench and everything, don't work out. They'll have a great regular season. We saw the Nets just a couple of years ago, have a great regular season, then turn around and choke in Game 7 of the second round of the playoffs, and that was as far as they got. That was a team with Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant on it. 3 guys that are going to the Hall of Fame eventually. But they had no bench. Their bench stunk. It was exposed in the postseason, and that's as far as they got. We see the same thing with Phoenix Suns the last 2 years with Durant. He's gotten smacked in the mouth, and I believe they didn't make the playoffs this year, and they got knocked out in the first round last year. So it's it just goes to show that having the all-star team isn't the be-all end-all. But if you can balance it, like, I don't think if I was the Knicks, I would try to get Kevin Durant still this offseason. I'd love to get Giannis, but I think you're going to have to give up too much to get him. Especially, let's not forget, the Knicks don't have any draft picks really at their disposal. Now, they traded a lot of draft picks the last couple of years. So you're going to have to wait to build up those draft picks again. But, when you're talking about getting a guy like Durant, I don't know how much it's going to take to get him. The Phoenix Suns feel like they're kind of in a rebuilding phase again now, or if not rebuilding, just retooling at the very least. And you're going to have to get Durant off that team if you want to get younger and more athletic. And, the Knicks could be a good landing spot for him. He could extend this team. And if I was the Knicks, you kind of use him in a role where he's not necessarily your sixth man, but he doesn't even have to start. You could still play him 30 or 35 minutes a night and just sprinkle him in as you like. That would be the perfect scenario for the Knicks there, as a matter of fact, with an aging Durant. What do you think about that, Dan?
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I feel like you gotta have the team around him when you build these super teams. You gotta have the right moves. It's what made the teams like the Miami Heat work, because they brought the right guys. It's what made the Boston Celtics when they did that super team thing work, because they brought in the right bench, they brought in the right complementary players. It's what the Knicks need to do if they're going to do anything like this. They got to bring in the right complementary players to make this work.
Absolutely right, Dan. Absolutely right. So, I think we covered the Knicks pretty well there. As hey, now all we can sit back as Knicks fans is cross our fingers and hope that Leon Rose, as he's proven to be, you got to give the guy credit. I was gonna say Leon Rose is smarter than everybody. Let's see, he's shown that to be true over the last couple of years, starting with that Jalen Brunson signing, which me and you talked about it on the air here. I liked that Brunson signing, but I wasn't going crazy about it. Nobody thought he was going to be the the next savior of the New York Knicks. Turned out he was. So let's just hope that Leon Rose knows what he's doing. And with that, Dan, let's turn our attention now to some baseball, as we got the Mets and the Yankees in full swing here now. Mets just coming off a great 4-game series against the Dodgers, where it was really exciting games. All the games were exciting. Obviously, if you're a Met fan, winning 2 of the 4 games where realistically the Mets could have won all 4. And as a matter of fact, Dan, how does it make you feel too that we ended up going 4-3 against the Dodgers this year? We took 2 out of 3 from them at Citi Field, and then split the series in LA 2-2. But the 3 games the Mets lost, let's sit back and examine those games for a second. The Friday night game in Citi Field, game 1 where these teams played against each other, the Mets erased a 5-2 deficit in the 9th inning, tied the game up 5-5, and then had chance after chance after chance in extra innings and could not get the job done. They end up losing the game 7-5 in extra innings. They win the next 2 games. So a game the Mets probably should have won, they lost there in New York. You come back here to LA. Mets win the game 1 here pretty handily. They look pretty good. Then again, you see it's the same situation as it was in LA. In New York. The Mets are up 5-3 in the 8th inning. They give up. It was 5-4 in the 8th inning. They give up 1 in the 9th to tie it, and they end up losing 6-5 in the 10th. Another game where it just slipped through the Mets' fingers. Then the Wednesday game, Mets go out. They win pretty handily, 6-1. Go out on Thursday, again, another late inning collapse where the Mets have a 5-3 lead in the 8th inning and blow it, giving up 3 runs in the 8th, lose it 6-5. And that game drives me even more crazy because they should have won that game. They were stranding runners left and right early on in that game. And then the thing to me that really cost that game, Dan, was was not scoring more than 1 run off Jose Urena. Jose Urena stinks. He's been on about 3 teams this year, and coming into this game had a 15 ERA. And the Mets only scoring 1 run off him, in my opinion, was the big factor in that game that cost it.
Yeah, that's what they need to do. They need to not waste these scoring opportunities. They also need to do I think maybe on a lesser note, but maybe a bigger note, do a better job at limiting the runs scored by the opposition. I felt that also that happened, that big inning that happened. I think it was in the 3rd inning. I feel like hurt us there that time, that giving up those runs. And then teams like the Dodgers, you have to put up as many zeros as possible and capitalize on having held the team scoreless as much as possible.
Yeah, and you can't make stupid mistakes. We saw the game the other night where the Dodgers won on the walk-off double on Tuesday night in Game 2 of this series, where Brandon Nimmo just didn't get to the ball in the outfield. When I first saw it off Freddie Freeman's bat, I thought it was going out of the park. Apparently, Brandon Nimmo did too. He didn't get back to the wall and get the ball. The ball ends up dropping, hitting the wall, game over. Then, in the 8th inning yesterday, you have a chance. There's a runner that left third base on contact. He was dead to rights at home. Brett Beatty double clutches the ball, makes a terrible throw, and they end up tying the game on it. It was just pathetic that they ended up losing the game that way,
Yeah, I was just disgusted by what I saw that inning. They're missing that one throw that I feel like if they got that out, the whole complexion of the game might have been different. Instead, I was just upset. May have led to me yelling out every time a player makes a dumb error like that. Nice game, pretty boy. I was yelling out.
Exactly. And our buddy Alvalanker is hanging out with us here too. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. And he's 100% right. The Mets should have won that last game. It's a big choke job. They had a 4-0 lead, and losing that one was just real tough, real tough. And he is 100% right too. Alan Gonzalez chiming in. The Mets won the tiebreaker, so that is true because the Mets now had the season series locked up to the Dodgers. The Mets are 39-24, one game better than the Dodgers, but that doesn't even matter because they took the season series from them 4-3. And hey, that's what you have to do, especially when you're against a good team, Dan. The Mets are playing the Rockies tonight. Rockies ain't too good, obviously. The Mets should go out there and win all three. Even though, crazy things happen in baseball. Wouldn't surprise me if they dropped one, even though it'd be annoying. But the Mets should go out there and win 3. But when you're playing a great team like the Dodgers, you just got to hang with them. And they're going to find ways to beat you. They're defending world champions for a reason. But the fact that the Mets went out there and were able to beat them 4 out of 7 times, that's a pretty good sign, Dan. And let's not forget, the Mets have been pretty banged up this year. We still haven't even gotten Juan Soto going. We haven't seen one pitch thrown from their ace, Sean Manaea, who we're going to get to in a second. He's on the way back now. So I would say for everything considered that the Mets have been through this year, taking 4-3 from the Dodgers so far is a really good way to to feel good about yourself now. You've established yourselves, even without the record, because obviously the Mets are going to be there. But look, we've seen that before. In 2022, they won 101 games, and for some reason, something just felt off. It just didn't, especially when Atlanta was chomping at the bit right down the Mets' necks the whole summer. It just felt like something was off. This year, the Mets have established themselves as a contender.
Yeah, exactly. I feel they need to keep their foot on the gas and try to pull away as much as possible. Also, I said before, the trade deadline, I feel more and more they need, I don't know if it's going to surface, but they need to look into maybe pitching options, I feel like. Because I feel like they need to find that move that's going to be the game changer, especially against the upper echelon of teams. They need to this time really be all in this time on that move, I feel like.
Well, I think it's on both fronts now too, Dan. The Mets have under Steve Cohen, the Mets have really done great things in the offseason. And at the trade deadline, they've kind of just picked up spare parts. I know a couple of guys had good runs, bullpen arms and stuff like that. But a lot of these guys were picked up on the lower end of the market. Some of them panned out. Phil Maton was pretty good at times last year. Ryan Stanek stuck around. There's a litany of guys over the last couple of years. But the Mets have not, under Steve Cohen, gone out and really even been in the market for any of the big fish, the top starting pitcher or top bat on the market. I feel like this year, with this team right now, this is the time the Mets have to be all in on getting a top bat or a top arm, whether it's a reliever or a starter. I feel like the Mets are going to go towards relief. But, because especially with Montas and Manaea coming back, I don't know how much room they're going to want to make in the rotation at this point. But, I guess if a guy like Luis Castillo becomes available, which seems unlikely because the Mariners are actually playing well. But if a guy like that becomes available, you're going to have to jump on it. But, for me, Dan, I feel like this is the year they have to be all in at the deadline for a big name.
Yeah, exactly. The Mets need to be all in at the deadline. They without a doubt need to be all in at the trade deadline. The other thing they need to do is like I said, they need to pull away. They need to be able to win every series. Another thing I'm suspecting Dodger Stadium might be cursed because I feel like some star Met players have gotten injuries at Dodger Stadium when I've looked at the history. I'll tell you an example. 2006 NLDS Mets up two nothing. One win away from winning the series, advancing to the NLCS. We all know how that turned out. Cliff Floyd gets injured. Happened at Dodger Stadium.
That's a good point.
2009, two key players that hurt our season big time. Jose Reyes and Carlos Delgado, who never played a single game in the major leagues after that. His career was over after that injury. Got injured. Happened at Dodger Stadium.
Didn't Ryan Church get hurt there too?
I think that's somewhere else. I don't remember where that happened. I think that was San Francisco. No, I think that was in New York, I think.
Was it? All right. I'll have to look it up. We'll see. But
yeah, and then also this one, which I hope isn't a problem. What happened to Francisco Lindor?
Yeah, and that's what we're going to get to in a second.
I feel like somebody who's a Mets fan needs to take the tour of Dodger Stadium, perform an exorcism on the visiting clubhouse. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm definitely not against you. Definitely not against you on that. And they definitely should take a little Jobu out there and try to get all the bad juju vibes away from that dugout, especially if the Mets end up back there in the postseason this year. But yeah, Dan, just what you were saying. Obviously, Francisco Lindor gets hit on the foot by a pitch earlier in this series and breaks a toe, his pinky toe, which I guess if you were going to break any toe on your foot, even though breaking your pinky toe is painful and a pain in the neck, it's better especially for his balance purposes than being a big toe or anything along those lines. So Lindor getting banged up here, not the best news, but it's also something that it's not the worst. I mean, as long as it's not for a long period of time, if they end up having to put him on the 10-day IL or anything like that, that's when you start to get worried. But let's just hope maybe it's just a day or two, get Lindor to get the swelling down or whatever, and have him back in the lineup for hopefully tomorrow night's game against Colorado.
Yeah. Exactly. They need to have him back. They can't be punting any game. The Mets can't punt any games, especially when you're playing against an opponent, when you have a division rival that's winning at the same pace as the Mets. They need to try to pull away, take advantage of every win as possible. Especially this game that gets me nervous every time the Mets are in Colorado. I can't be calm in the game against Colorado. Colorado.
Yeah, I'm with you. Colorado is definitely – we've seen some crazy things happen in this ballpark over the years. Although, to be fair, it's calmed down a lot ever since they started using that humidifier with the balls and everything there. But, Dan, actually, before we even get into this series, I did want to ask you a question about the finale of the Dodgers series because I found this very, very curious, right? So – in the game the Mets won on Wednesday, that they won 6-1, they were up 3-0 in the 8th inning before Pete Alonso hit a 3-run shot to make it 6-0. When they were up 3-0, we saw Edwin Diaz getting loose in the bullpen because in the bottom of that inning, it was going to be the top of the Dodgers lineup to face the whoever the Mets brought in. So, understandably so, Carlos Mendoza had Diaz warming up to quell whatever, potential rally the Dodgers could start. Once Alonso hit the home run and made it 6-0, it was a moot point. He sat down Diaz. Don't worry about it. We'll save you for tomorrow. Well, tomorrow comes, meaning yesterday's game, and the Mets are up by 1 run in the 8th inning with the top of the lineup coming up, and he brings in Reed Garrett. Why would you not use Edwin Diaz in that same spot up by less runs with the top of the lineup coming up? I just didn't understand it. Now, I get maybe Reed Garrett wasn't available on Wednesday. Maybe that's why he was doing it. I'm not even sure about that. That's just a guess. But why? I don't like. It made total sense to me on Wednesday when he was doing it, and I said, okay, that's a good move by Mendoza. Let's see, thinking outside the box. And then he comes back on Thursday with a chance to do the same thing and opts not to. What did you think about that, Dan?
Yeah, I was looking at that game. I thought they should have brought in Diaz. I don't know why they didn't. It just baffles me why, and it just bit us in the ass. Like that was it. That was gonna you just had a chance to make sure we didn't have to face the meat of the lineup in the 9th inning. You had that chance to just bring Diaz. I don't get why Mendoza did that. There are so many things that were questioned. There may have been multiple people that were on the 1 day Shizer list. There's a 1 day Shizer list because of how that game turned out. Also, Alvarez maybe try not to get so many pass ball. Ease up on the pass balls. A little bit less pass balls maybe can help us a little bit because I've noticed that.
And there was a couple of times too. He had the pass ball earlier in the series where he was trying to catch the pitch and then frame it, and he botched that one. And then there was the ball in the dirt yesterday where he could. I mean, come on. We've seen how many catchers over the years block this, and he couldn't block that ball yesterday. That ended up letting both runners get into scoring position. I'm a big fan of Francisco Alvarez. I've defended him numerous times over the years because there are plenty of Met fans out of here that are just sick of him. And I got to say, he's got to start showing us something because Alvarez is really he's becoming the number 2 catcher on this roster. I can't believe it, too. Could you imagine a year ago at this time me telling you, Dan, we're going to have Luis Torrens on this roster, which he had just become a Met right around this time a year ago. And Francisco Alvarez was just getting ready to come off the injured list and rejoin the team. And could you imagine if I had told you, Dan, we're going to have a fully healthy Francisco Alvarez and a fully healthy Luis Torrens, but we're going to be sitting here debating which one we should play because Torrens has played so well and Alvarez has played so bad. That seems like something that would have been unthinkable a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. This just sounds like I would be shocked, and I'm starting to question: is this guy the catcher?
It's becoming a question, right?
Yeah, it's becoming a real question, and we're going to see in the next couple of days. And it's going to be interesting to see if Senga is going to be able to pitch in Colorado, how much that ghost fork will be effective in Colorado, where I just feel like it's impossible to pitch. I feel like if you're a pitcher, why do you even want to sign a contract to pitch in Colorado? Why did they even think of putting a baseball team in Colorado where no one can pitch?
Well, they've pitched better there lately. Not for the Rockies this year, but overall, it's been better since they put that humidifier in. But yeah, I can't sit here and argue with it at all, my friend. It's definitely true. I don't understand. Although if you talk to Mike Hampton, I hear the school system is better. If you want to go back for that 20-year-old reference.
Yep. That whole thing that destroyed his career. Though it did work out in the long run for the Mets because we all know what happened when we didn't re-sign Mike Hampton, what that compensation pick led to. A very player by the name of David Wright, whose number is going to be retired in next month. So there is that. That's true.
That is true. And he was
there is that.
And his draft anniversary too was yesterday. Was the 24-year anniversary of that pick too. So you're right on, my friend. Only a few weeks away from his number 5 being retired amongst the Mets all-time greats, and he's going to have a pretty damn good team looking back at him. Yeah, what you can say?
Yeah, another thing I gotta say about City Field, I think maybe Steve Cohen needs to address this. Maybe it was a part of what the Wilpons did. Maybe the whatever company they had make these retired number signs. You notice that some of these retired numbers are fading a little bit.
Yeah, I saw they were showing that on TV the other day. I can't believe. I mean, we saw those Shea Stadium numbers up there for our entire lives, and they never even changed colors. The Mets numbers have only been up there for a couple of years. How the hell are they already, losing their coloring?
Yeah, what's going on? Were the Wilpons cheap when those numbers retired? Because I noticed half those numbers are some of those were retired numbers when the Wilpons and numbers retired. They need to do a better job. Maybe Steve Cohen during the offseason needs to get a bet. I mean, Steve Cohen, please find a better company. Do have new ones made and make them a bit more durable. That's like saying, right? It's a disrespect to these guys' legacies. Their retired numbers fading like that. The numbers.
True.
It's a disrespect to the legacies of the legacy of these great players. They deserve more durable retired number things banners with their signs, whatever you call them, hanging up there in the rafters of City Field. It deserves better, more or use more durable paint. I don't know what the answer is on that one. How to handle that, but
I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Better.
It seems like it's an easy fix. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. I feel like it's an easy fix, and Steve Cohen respects the history of this team enough that I feel like they'll do that. Also, I saw in September they're doing a Mets alumni game in September. Did you hear about this?
So that too. Yeah, it's gonna be the early 2000s Shea Stadium Mets, like the 2000 NL Champ Mets, the 2006 Division Champion Mets, going against the City Field era of the 2000s, the late 2000s, the 2000 teens, the 2015 National League Championship team. I think it's a pretty good concept. What do you think?
Yeah, it is. And I feel weird seeing Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard in an old timers game.
John Neese on that too. Real weird.
Yeah. That one feels weird. That one feels weird. That feels weird when I saw when I looked at this. Who's going to be taking part of this? I'm probably going to grab a ticket to this game myself. But it feels weird when I see these names. Have they reached that point? Because it seems like yesterday I remember being hyped about Syndergaard being called up. I remember seeing Noah Syndergaard in the Futures game at City Field. I don't know if you remember that. I remember seeing at the All-Star. I remember seeing at the MLB All-Star Fan Fest, WFAN. I was watching this interview happen. They were interviewing Syndergaard. He looked quite nervous about it, not quite having a grasp of how many people listen to New York sports talk. Like he was like nervous about it being on air. Like how many people are going to, you get to hear people laughing when he seems, how many people are going to be hearing this, right? I don't know if you remember that interview.
Yeah, that was with Joe and Evan on WFAN about 15 years ago or so, maybe 13 years.
Yeah. Remember he said that, and you could hear everyone laughing because we all know it's freaking WFAN. There's a lot of people listening to this. The WFAN.
Very true.
Literally,
I want to just give a scoring update here for the Yankees. The Yankees just came out of rain delay, and at Yankee Stadium hit a Jazz Chisholm. It's a 3-run home run in the first inning. Yankees up 3-0 against the Red Sox, striking early against there. So the Yankees and Red Sox series starting off with fireworks right off the bat. And Dan, let's keep this thing rolling here because we still got a bunch to get to before we get out of here, and we're already about 45 minutes in. So let's see. Mets lead the NL East right now by 1.5 games over the Phillies, and the Braves are 11 back. I don't know if you saw the other day. The Braves were up 10-4 in the 9th inning and allowed 7 runs to the Diamondbacks, blowing it to lose 11-10 at home. And it would have been nice if the Mets could have won yesterday and extended our division lead to 12 games over them. But, having the Braves 11 games back right now makes you feel pretty good. But let's not forget, in 2022, on May 30th, the Mets were 10 games ahead of the Braves. So only a week later, we're 11 up on them. I'm not celebrating and spiking the football anytime soon. How about you?
Yeah, exactly. They can't punt this thing, not one bit. Mets cannot punt this. They need to continue everything. Bite the head off the snake. Strike first, strike hard, strike fast. No mercy.
Exactly. You got to pound them into the ground just like they did in '86 when they won the division by over 20 games. So you're 100% right about that, Dan. And we got some firepower coming back for the Mets rotation. Sean Manaea is making his first rehab appearance tonight. He's slated to throw 35 pitches for High A Brooklyn. So it'll be interesting to see how his night goes.
I actually checked that out already because I looked it up on the. It didn't quite fare well. It looks like.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's about him getting his pitch count up at this point, because it's the same thing with Frankie Montas, who threw 3 innings for Brooklyn on Monday, and he's also working his way back. And it's the same thing. He threw 3 innings. He led 2 runs. He didn't look too good in his first outing either. But right now, it's about getting these guys back, shaking the rust off. As for the actual results, in another start or two, you're going to start looking at the results and getting worried if they're not there. But as for right now, it's just getting their arms loose, shaking that rust off, and getting themselves ready for a big run here in the later stages of this season.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully he keeps. Hopefully he has a met. I'm looking for Manaea to progress more the next start he pitches in the minors. Have more of a better outing than that. That's what I need. I understand the first outing. I'll start questioning that if he has a bad outing the next time.
Well, I don't even know. The next time, I'm not even going to be that worried about it either, because he's only going to be throwing 50 pitches maybe. So you can't get too wrapped up about it. But now Montas now is at the point where if he goes out there and he gets rocked in his next outing, then I'll start to get a little bit worried. Even though Montas might, I still have decent hopes for him because of the Mets pitching lab and the results they've gotten with guys. But, I'm still more concerned about Manaea. But, yeah, I think, we're worried about the actual results down the line when it comes to it. But speaking of that, Dan, down the line in about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, right around there, the Mets are going to be starting in Colorado against the Rockies. Kodai Senga taking the mound, 6-3 record, 1.60 ERA against Ryan Rollison, who actually threw a couple of times against the Mets at Citi Field last week. This is only his 11th Major League appearance, and it'll be his first start. Only his second start of the year. He made 1 start in the minors this year, too. So he's had about 20 appearances so far this year, and this is only his second start. First ever Major League start. So you got to hope in the high altitude with the Mets angry about losing the game yesterday to the Dodgers, and they just saw this kid last week at Citi Field, so it's not like it's the first time they're seeing him either. You got to hope the Mets put up some numbers against this guy tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And they got to find a way, I don't know how, but find a way to get as many scoreless innings as possible. That is like a key factor. And the Mets have to take advantage of each scoreless inning they get in Colorado because it's very unforgiving if you leave runners on base here.
Yeah, so you got that right.
Very unforgiving in Colorado. So they need to finally win. I'm gonna be nervous. I'm debating if I need coffee or not for this one or not, but it might be more next day. But I'll be watching, and hopefully I can wake up Mr. Maloonigan by celebrating a win.
That's right. Just about 45 minutes to first pitch in Denver, so we'll keep our eyes on that. We got the Yankees and Red Sox going on right now. I just gave you the update on them earlier, and there's actually a further update after that as the Yankees have tacked on against Walker Buehler, the pitcher that finished them off in the World Series last year, and the Yankees have added 2 more on top of that in the form of a Anthony Volpe 2-run shot. So the Yankees lead 5-0 in the first inning against Boston, and they're coming off a big 2 out of 3 series against the Cleveland Guardians. The Yankees 38-23, one of the best records in the American League, dropping the Guardians 2 out of 3 at in the Bronx. And the Guardians, man, they got a good team. So it's not like you can't sit here and be like, oh, well, the Yankees beat another crappy team. The Guardians are a pretty good team. They're the ones that the Yankees had to go through to get to the World Series last year. So beating them tonight, beating the Guardians earlier this week, big thumbs up for the Yankees. And look, you can say what you want about the Red Sox. They might not be a championship level team, but they're still a very good competitive team that's right there behind the Yankees in the American League East. So dropping a 5 spot on them right out of the gate tonight is definitely good news for the Yanks.
Yeah, that's a good shape for them. They had to get them, even if the Red Sox seem to be out of contention. They seem to be a tough opponent, and they've
Red Sox are not out of contention.
Yeah, I guess not. I forgot. I saw they were like in 4th place when I looked like the last time, so I was like shocked.
Yeah, but I mean they're not they're not having a championship year. They're 30-34 right now, but I can't say by any stretch of the imagination, especially with seeing where the Mets came from last year, that they're out of contention. As a matter of fact, if you look at the American League wild card standings right now, they're only 4 games back of the final wild card slot. So Boston is still right in it. They're a competitive team that the Yankees are. Right now the Yankees should just be better than them, and the Yankees should be able to beat the Red Sox at least 2 out of 3 this weekend. But it's not going to be easy. They're off to a hot start here right now, and they have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, exactly. And they need to not take the opponent lightly, because it's like, let's face it, anytime the Yankees play against the Red Sox, it's not an easy series on either side, and they need to understand that. They need to match whatever their opponent is dishing at them.
Exactly. And the Yankees were definitely dishing it out yesterday, as Max Fried, their ace, went out there yesterday, and got the win on in getaway day. I'm dropping the ball on that one, Dan. He won the finale against them. It wasn't getaway day because they weren't in Cleveland. It was in the Bronx, as they ended up winning that one yesterday, and got 6 shutout innings from Max Fried because of that. He's 8-1 now. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, bouncing back after his first loss of the season last week against the Dodgers, when he kind of faltered late in that game, or about halfway through that game. So big job by the Yankees getting Fried back on track, Dan. And also, I want to throw this at you. Aaron Judge won the May Player of the Month. He was named just a couple of days ago. His 11th Player of the Month award for the American League. Second, it's the most American League Player of the Month award that any player has ever won, and the second most all time, only to Barry Bonds, who won 13 in the National League. So that's pretty crazy when you think about. They've been giving out this award for quite some time now, and for Judge to have the most American League, award winners there, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would have never expected that he'd break that record. I figured that record was something that was broken a long time ago. Never did I expect that. So he's having a season that Yankee fans would expect to have. It's just a matter of him getting it done in the big spots that come later on.
And right now he's getting it done in all spots. So like you said, it's going to come down to what he does in the playoffs. But this is another stat that I absolutely loved when I saw. Only 2 players in Major League history through May, meaning they played whatever games in March, all of April, and all of May. Only 2 players in history have ever had a 390 plus average and 20 plus home runs through May, and they're both Yankees. Aaron Judge, 398 and 21 home runs this year, and in 1956, the year he won the Triple Crown Award, Mickey Mantle with a 414 batting average and 20 home runs. So when that's the company that you're being put in right now, Dan, that just goes to show Aaron Judge is on a completely different level than everybody else right now.
Yeah, he is just on another level, and he's probably the favorite to win the AL MVP.
Again, you're right about that. And then tonight, what brings us again to tonight is the opening game. We saw Walker Buehler get knocked around in the first inning, and the Yankees are going to sit here and have to cross their fingers as they're throwing out Wookie. He's not a Wookie, but he is a rookie. Will Warren, 3-3 with a 5.19 ERA. And let's not forget, he's coming off his last start against the Dodgers, where he got destroyed. An inning and a third, 6 hits, 7 runs, 4 walks, and 2 Ks. So the Yankees going to hope that their rookie has enough to turn it around.
Yep, exactly. And I just couldn't help but laugh when you made that mistake, because that just gave me the crazy image of a Wookiee in MLB. I feel like an umpire would not be safe having a Wookiee in MLB, especially if a Wookiee's upset at a bad call. Do you have an idea how a Wookiee would react with a bad call from an umpire?
Well, it's like Han Solo said in A New Hope, let the Wookiee win. That's the only way.
Yeah.
So with that, definitely maybe we see Chewbacca pitching for the Yankees tonight at some point. But the Yankees, have to hope that that Will Warren can go out there and pitch his ass off tonight. And yeah, man, I mean, a couple other things I want to get to tonight, and unless there was anything you wanted to add to that.
That's everything. I'm just sorry. It was just too funny. That mistake just put this image in my head. That was just too funny.
I was jumbling the words together of Will Warren and rookie, and Wookie came out. So,
Yeah.
So, all right, Dan, last thing before we call it a night here. Once again, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. Alvalanker, too, want to thank everybody chiming in the chat and everything. He's 100% right. We were talking about the Mets earlier and just winning as many games as possible. No doubt about it. One other thing I wanted to bring up, our buddy Alan Gonzalez brought this up, too, and this is before we get into our last topic of the day. But I did like his suggestion that he was saying that it's been talked about that Cedric Mullins is a guy the Mets could go after with the Japanese pitcher Sugano for depth. And I would like that. Sugano's been very good this year. He's 5-2 with a 3 ERA in 12 starts. So those would definitely be some names that would be interesting to me if the Mets could get those guys. Mullins is a switch-hitting outfielder with speed. He's got a little pop, too, in the bat. And Sugano could be really good for that rotation, and maybe give another Japanese-speaking pitcher for Kodai Senga to bond with.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe convince some Japanese stars that, hey, this is where it's really at, all right? Fuck the West Coast. This is the coast. This is the big coast right here, bitches. This is the coast you want to be.
You got that right. The West Coast ain't the best coast, right? There we go.
Exactly.
So,
this is the best coast right here.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, so last thing we want to get into, once again, thanks everybody for hanging out with us here on this Friday night edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. And last thing, Dan, is that we got NFL mini camps in full swing right now. The Jets just had theirs. The Giants are wrapping up theirs. And really not too big, stories coming out of there. The Giants had a couple of heated exchanges, but Brian Burns and the guys that got into it said it's no worries. The Jets had a very quiet compared to the last couple of years, spring training, and when spring training, I said, but you know what I mean, the pads and everything, these mini camps, same thing. But we did have big news come outside of that, as we heard yesterday that it was finally announced that Aaron Rodgers, the former Jet and obviously legendary Green Bay Packers quarterback, has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now that is obviously really newsworthy, because we already know it's going to be Jets versus Steelers in week 1 of the NFL this year. And even though this absolutely, as a diehard Jets fan that I am, this breaks my heart. I hated the fact the Jets let Aaron Rodgers go. I know a lot of Jet fans don't agree with me, and I'm fine with that. But I hated letting Rodgers go for nothing. I hated cutting, what's his name? Devontae Adams for nothing. I despised both those moves. I still do, and I stand by that. But now Rodgers going to Pittsburgh. Dan, what do you think about that? Because week 1, it's going to be the Aaron Rodgers revenge game. And I'm telling you this: when the Mets walked Freddie Freeman yesterday, and Michael Conforto was coming up, if you're a Met fan and you've watched this team for any amount of time, you knew deep down in your heart that as bad as Michael Conforto had been all year, he was going to get that hit. You just knew it. As soon as they walked Freeman, and which was the right move. You can't pitch to Freddie Freeman there. You got to play the numbers and pitch to Michael Conforto. But you just knew. I knew deep in my heart he's getting hit. I just knew it. Just like I know right now, 4 months before this game is even played, when Aaron Rodgers plays the Jets, it's going to be a bloodbath. And unfortunately, as a Jet fan, I can say this, the Jets deserve every bit of it. Dan, what do you think about this looming matchup now?
Yeah, that's what it looks like that's going to happen. And I feel like it's going to really bite the Jets in the ass this year. Because watch, I have a feeling it's going to be like Brett Favre when he left the Jets. He had a monster year, nearly got to the Super Bowl and probably would have won the thing if they got there with the Minnesota. That's what this is looking like right here, what you're seeing right there, and it's unfortunately going to happen, and you're going to be looking at it, and there's going to be Jet fans bitching about it on sports talk radio. Also,
That's
I
right.
want to say another little, maybe, I don't know if it's a really big factor or anything in the football season. We all know about the history of the NFL, the Madden cover jinx. Did you hear what I said about the Madden cover jinx?
Yeah. You know what? All right, let's just get to that, though. I guess you didn't have anything to say. But, the Saquon Barkley being named the Madden 26 cover athlete.
And this is once I've never cheered about someone being on the cover of Madden because of the history than this. I can tell you if the Eagles have a horrible season, I will want to buy a beer for whoever made the decision at EA Sports to put Saquon Barkley on the cover.
What if he goes out there and runs for 2,000 yards again?
Yeah, well, for one thing, I don't wish bad luck on anything, but if that didn't happen, but if it does happen, then I'll question the coverages. but part of me just doesn't want to see a Philadelphia Eagle break the jinx.
Well, we'll have to see. You're 100% right about that. It's very interesting. If I was Saquon, I might even be like, yeah, guys, thank you for the offer. I don't know if I want to go down that road. But, hey, the guy, he's a young kid. He's dealt with injuries in the past before. He doesn't fear it. And, I think Saquon is probably in the best shape of his life. And he's got a championship ring in his back pocket now. He's got a big contract from the Eagles as well, making big money. So, now I guess he's making money on the side for being the cover guy for Madden too. So we'll have to see how that all plays out with the Eagles and the health of their star running back. Because we know running backs do get beat up pretty quick here in the NFL. So a couple of NFL notes there to close this show out here as minicamp week is coming to an end. And Dan, I think that's just about going to do it for us here today on the show. Before we get out of here, do you have anything like to plug for yourself?
Sure, I want to plug. Unfortunately, I don't know why our graphics department wasn't able to get the Twitter space for the Twitter handles like we did before, but it's a Bobo103 NYC on Twitter.
Yeah, it's on the bottom of the screen. You don't see it?
Oh yeah, we got the graphics thing. Yeah, all right, Bobo103 NYC. Also, Instagram, Bobo718DK on Instagram. Also, Daniel, one word, Daniel Curlin on YouTube. I keep having to deal with a lot of stuff. Sometimes I didn't get that sidetrack me to get trackside minute, but I'll get trackside minute up there. It's a lot of stuff, but there's gonna be plenty. There's gonna be you're gonna have the longest episode of trackside minute. I can tell you that. Hopefully,
a deluxe episode.
Yeah, the last episode of trackside minute. You're gonna have the longest episode of trackside minute, but you're gonna I had that a lot of content, but there's going to be a lot of bubble content, and also like I said, the YouTube video. Get 2 weeks early access to my YouTube content when I post stuff on YouTube. So you got to definitely look out there. It's pending, but I'm even thinking of coming up with. I'm literally writing the script for puns in case I attend the Winter Classic, because I feel like there's just so many jokes about that, about the warm weather and stuff, outdoor hockey and warm weather. But there's gonna be stuff out there. There's gonna be stuff. Hopefully there'll be some stuff talking about celebrating some championship. Maybe celebrating a Mets championship on there. Could be on my YouTube. But whatever you see on my YouTube, you guys will have 1 week early access to it. So support our Patreon. It's only $5. Cost of a round trip on the subway. Great deal.
That's right, Dan.
And you get our exclusive Patreon shows on Sunday. Can't forget that too.
That's right. Don't forget, just like Dan said, if you want to help support, on the bottom of the screen, I just changed it now. Subscribe to our Patreon page, $5 a month, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us here on this Friday night. We'll be back, like Dan said, on Sunday for our Patreon show. If you want to join us, it's only $5. We appreciate it. Anybody that's already, taken the dive, and anybody that even hasn't, thank you for hanging out with us here on this Friday night. For my co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin, this is the Best Seat in the House podcast. I'm your host, Rob Kramer. Don't forget also, we have our good friends, Eastside Dave and Aaron Berg, just came out with a brand new show called Modern Day Man that they post every week on YouTube. If you're a fan of old school Compound Media, if you're a fan of any of those guys, Ron and Fez, during the Eastside Dave days, In Hot Water with Aaron Berg and Gino, it's like a combination of all of that. So if you want to see a really funny show, check out Modern Day Man with our two buddies, Aaron Berg and the great Eastside Dave McDonald. So want to thank everybody in here for hanging out with us. You guys have a great weekend. For my co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Kramer. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody, and have a great weekend. Let's go Mets.